Dan, let's hear you talk a little bit. Make sure your audio is good.
Hey, I know things about Troy that you guys probably would like to know.
I don't know about that.
I think top 3 might have just changed.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Let's not get into that today. All right.
Okay, all right.
But we do need to kick it.
All right.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Hardheaded, where we get very practical and realistic about certain subjects. Usually has to do with Matt Amos and Chet Sears, my co-hosts, arguing over some topic. So yeah, today on our show, we're going to do top 3 meals you would like to eat if you were on death row.
Like your last meal.
Like your last meal.
If you had the opportunity to know that this is going to be the last meal I'm going to eat, and you got to choose what that was going to be, what would it be?
Top 3. Then we'll have a good word from one of you fine gentlemen.
Chet.
Yes.
But first, we have a special guest with us today.
In studio.
Welcome. Studio.
I am in the studio.
We have Mr. Dan Oblinger. It's a pleasure having you today, sir.
Yeah, charmed, Troy.
Yeah. So Dan is an old friend of mine, ex-colleague of mine.
We used to work together.
Yeah. So he is a husband, a father, a law enforcement officer, a hostage negotiator, a keynote speaker, a corporate educator, a master listener, and an author. Just to name a few things.
Just to name a few.
Right. So we are glad that you could make it in the studio, Dan.
Man, well, we're blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to start off with just asking you a question on why law enforcement?
So I didn't always want to be a cop.
Yes.
I actually studied to be a Roman Catholic priest.
Yes.
And I had to leave. Wasn't called. Anyhow, so I had a degree in philosophy. I was, a young strapping lad with a degree in philosophy. If you didn't know, it's not like really employable.
Yeah. It's like,
so I'm in the help wanted
I don't
ads.
know. I took my truck down to the philosophy shop the other day.
Did you? Yeah. Got it all tuned up. Got some Nietzsche in the tank. It's looking really nice. Factory. Yeah, so help wanted ads were a thing back then. Your younger listeners don't understand what that is, but right. If you look in philosopher, right below that's police officer, and I was like, hey, look what they pay.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, they gave me a gun and a badge.
And people aren't known, you don't think police officers known for like big salaries, but when you compare that to being unemployed philosopher,
compared to zero, it was a hell of a deal.
It's a really good deal.
Yeah, and then I had if you're keeping score at home, I had a philosophy degree, a gun, and a badge. And that's just, nobody should ever do that. That was a big mistake on their part. I had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, 20 years, close to 20 years?
I am closing in on 20 years like a pit bull and a 3-legged cat.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so then on the force, you got into some negotiating, some hostage negotiation.
Yeah, been doing that for 12 years.
So how did that occur? How did you get into that? Were you on a beat one day and just like, oh, I'd like to talk people off a bridge? Or how'd that happen?
Yeah, it's kind of like how I became a cop. I didn't want to be a hostage negotiator, but
yeah,
I had one fateful call of a jumper, and then kind of got a taste for the work, and without knowing how to do the work. So then I started learning about the work and put myself in a position to compete for the job, which is, in law enforcement, a lot of people don't know this. There's tons of jobs in law enforcement, especially at a big agency. Mm-hmm. So I work at an agency where there's 700 cops. So they have a lot of specialized work you can do, and you have to bid into that. It's a competitive process. So you have to kind of stake out your claim. My claim was working with mentally ill folks in crisis. So I did that a lot as a street officer based on where I was assigned. I parlayed that into a hostage negotiator gig. Did that for 12 years. So I co-command the team. There's now 14 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
so
a lot of work.
The training you go to is local or?
FBI.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
FBI has a certification course in Quantico. Very few people get to go. I had the privilege to be able to go there a couple of years ago.
And then you come back and train the people that work in the department?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a good training mission. We train a lot of police officers about de-escalation now. It's a big thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say you saw a rise in those things during the COVID era?
We've had some of the absolute looniest call-outs, just the craziest, most intense call-outs in the last calendar month, like 12 months. It's just been wild. People are hurting.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I probably don't imagine what the reality is out there, but so 14 folks on the force, and then when you say call outs, that's just not that any officer was called. They're saying, hey, we need some extra help.
Yeah, it's the police calling the police.
Yeah. Like
Put it in
this is
context.
beyond my training that I've had, and we need to bring in somebody with some specialized training to deal with this
Yeah,
situation.
we typically deploy with SWAT. So they're the tactical side, and we're you can say the communication side, the de-escalation side.
Yeah.
And we work in tandem. It's called a parallel resolution. They provide the tension, and we provide the dialogue. And it's actually a really beautiful thing. It's a really very effective method of resolving a crisis. But we also sometimes deploy without them for like straight up mental health calls.
Right.
So, and then we have a training mission, which we already talked about. So it's a big job.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we need 14 really dedicated professionals.
Yeah. And so you enjoyed this so much that you said, I could see the training part is applicable outside of just what we do on the police force. And you've kind of gone corporate with this skill set and how people could use it in the business world.
That's how I met Troy. I had picked up a side gig doing other things for a company. And kind of part of that is we were exploring, well, how can we serve people? I discovered that, this is something people are interested in. And that just grew organically, which is the best when your company, when your concept, how you serve people resonates, then it's very attractive. So I've been blessed the last couple of years. It's just kind of blown the doors out.
Yeah.
And what I train people how to listen better, active listening for internal work. And then we actually have made the transition to being not just a crisis negotiator, but a business negotiator.
Right.
And so sales, procurement, mergers, acquisition, strategy work, talent management, project delivery, the skills are really applicable once you make that translation. And it's amazing how many companies right now are really focused on that. They're like, look, we don't need to make anything better. We don't need to make more of it. We need to have better, stronger agreements with our suppliers and with our clients.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome.
So your learning curve, like you have a skill set that's applicable, but I'm assuming outside of the work that you may have done with Troy in the for-profit world, you've learned a lot. What's the biggest surprise that you found out when you're like, hey, I'm dealing with all these for-profit businesses now, and I had no clue that
Active listening wasn't a thing outside of like crisis hostage negotiations. Active listening is it's a very specific term in my world. In my world, active listening is 8 techniques that you use to listen to people. And you kind of take it for granted because once you've been taught it and you start practicing it and it becomes the way you do business with people, and I use business in air quotes, right? The way you make agreements with them. And this could be your son taking out the trash, you and your wife deciding where you want to go for dinner, and certainly closing $1 million merger, right?
Yeah.
Once you understand,
sometimes the former is a lot more complicated than the latter.
Yeah. No, and he's going to ask me about our toughest one. I'm going to disappoint him with the truth. But the thing of that is, in my world, that's normal, right?
Yeah.
It's just accepted. Obviously, you're going to use active listening, right? In the business world, I don't know how to deal with this. My client's really mad.
Yeah.
And you're like, just use ALS. Cops love acronyms. You just use ALS. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, summarize what they're telling you. And then they do. It's kind of funny. They'll do it, and they're like, "That was amazing. What else do you have?" I was like, "Ask a question." And they're like, "We do that a lot." I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes it's dangerous. Maybe listen to what they really mean and ask them if this is what they really mean."
Yeah.
And they're like, "This is magic."
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, "Well, it works on methed up gunmen. It'll probably work on your supplier."
Right. They're a little bit more of sound mind.
Yeah.
They have
a little more skin in the game.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest jump, is to realize that there's dynamics and techniques and habits that I've built as a crisis negotiator that I only realized working outside of the public sector that I totally took for granted.
Yeah.
Because then they're so valuable in the private sector and in people's personal lives. And that's when I was like, all right, I should probably tell people about this.
Yeah.
And some people give me money and some people don't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it helps everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can help parents with their kids
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah.
The training or calling Dan?
Yeah.
Either one.
Call SWAT if you got a 5-year-old. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Shoot, I was just getting ready to call you in for two teenage girls. Well, one almost teenage girl come in and negotiate some stuff for me.
Yeah.
It does work on teenagers. It's just
man.
painful.
Yeah.
It's very painful. Humility's painful.
Yes.
That's where I'm at in my life. I've got 2 teenage girls too, man. I feel you.
Yeah. It's been smooth sailing for about 14, 15 years until
Yep.
a couple months ago.
Thanks,
And then
biology.
yeah. Yep.
Hello.
Nobody knew this was coming.
Yeah. Hey, what happened?
Should have been planning for this all along.
You don't know what you don't know.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So Dan, through all your hostage negotiation, I mean, was there one that sticks out to you that really tested you beyond measure? Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, negotiation. So what's interesting, a couple things to enlighten the hard-headed listeners out there. In my world, there's hostage negotiations and there's non-hostage negotiations, which sounds like, and we're probably going to cause an argument here, and Chet's going to hit me over the head with a folding chair from the top rope.
Go violent. No, go violent.
Metaphorically, he's going to hit me in the head with a chair. Non-hostage means not what you think. Like you would think, oh, that means nobody's in there. No, it means there's somebody in there, but the definition of the hostage is somebody held against their will but being used to obtain something else. A non-hostage is a person not free to go inside the barricade who's not being used to get anything. They are the thing that is desired by the offender.
Oh, okay.
They're the most dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, it's like if
Because
I was
they're
holding
not
Troy
trying to use it
hostage.
as leverage.
If I was holding
Yeah.
Troy hostage and Chet was the hostage negotiator, he's like, all right, what can we do to get Troy out? And we're like, oh, you can't have Troy. I want him.
Yeah.
See that? That's the dynamic. A lot of domestic violence kind of dynamics there.
Right.
So those two coupled together those are the ones that stand out.
So
When
one-
there's actually a third party, an innocent human life at risk. Those obviously stand out. And I've had a bunch of those over the years.
And the greatest risk is those that aren't considered it's a non-hostage situation because you can't use that individual's leverage to gain a foothold.
Yeah, there's no
on-
bargaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 100% making a connection with that offender,
Yeah.
with a suspect. The vast majority of our work is neither hostage nor non-hostage, as we call solo barricades. They're typically mental health or a fugitive. Somebody didn't want to go to prison or somebody didn't want to go to the hospital. And those are high enough risk, but nobody else's life's in danger.
Right.
It's just us and them, And that's the meat of our work. And really, I look at it as this. It's super important work. That life is so valuable, life's so precious. It's also you're practicing for when there is a third party there. Like we take those very seriously because we want to do things the same way every time, making the connection, listening, right? And then going beyond that, actually making some persuasive appeals. So that's good practice for us, but it's also, that's a real life that we're bargaining for. It just happens to be also the subject.
Yeah.
So that's it. What I'll tell you though, this is for the listeners. The hardest negotiations are the ones in your home.
Yeah.
Doesn't compare at all because the stakes are much higher. They're just spread out over time. Like how we negotiate with our teenage daughters.
Right.
That's determining how they're going to turn into young ladies, right? And that's our mission as men, is to raise children that are going to be amazing citizens and adults and humans, right?
Yeah.
Capable of loving and having a mission. And so every time we make a strong agreement with them, that's good. And every time we miss that opportunity, we're not advancing our mission. So
let's just say
high stakes.
we happen to have a teenage daughter,
Hypothetically.
hypothetically
Maybe
speaking,
2 of them.
and one of them is being irrational, and you're going to have to negotiate.
Can you have a realistic scenario?
So,
Irrational teenage daughter. Okay, I'll try. Here
but
we
I
go.
mean, I look at it like because my frustration level gets high, and one of the things that I think one of the reasons I think you would say in the home is a lot more difficult is also your skin in the game is deeper than you show up on a scene and you don't know anybody there. You've been called. You're trying to resolve this issue, but when the issue's over, it's over, and you're not going to see that person again. But when you're negotiating with somebody in your house, like if I do some damage from I lose my temper and yell and scream, then
that becomes an element in your next negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You lose a foothold. Like you may not have as much high ground to deal with the next issue.
One thing we talk about in both crisis negotiations, we use different terms, but also in private sector is information control. Information control is really critical for negotiations. We want to know more about the situation, and we want to be very careful what information we share with others, right? You don't have information control in the four walls of your house.
Yeah.
When I show up at a crisis negotiation for the police, that guy doesn't know all the things I've done wrong for the last 15 years, but my daughters do, and it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Right. And so managing your own emotions and managing the emotions of others is like the foundation for it. And it's just trickier when people know us really well. They know what our foibles. We know what sets us off. We know all the things that we feel guilty about. We know all the they know all the things that they've done that they can bring up, right? They can poke us. But it's totally worth it to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just hard. And the word irrational is really important.
And I don't have teenage daughters yet. I only have one daughter, and she's about to be 11, so I got a few years.
Oh, she still loves you. Yeah.
But yeah.
But
Wait,
wait, buddy, it's coming.
12 is the number.
Oh, great! I
It's
got
coming, man.
one more year. But I feel like being apologetic when you are wrong as a parent is a good thing, right?
I've
now.
never been wrong.
For now.
What are you talking about?
For now.
Admitting
As a
your
parent.
faults.
The game's about to change. The game's about to change. So we train this. I actually have to train people how to apologize in corporate world. And the shortest answer is never apologize for something you're not sorry about. It won't work. It'll make things worse. And it's actually better, instead of apologizing, to demonstrate gratitude. So don't say, "Hey, I'm sorry I yelled." You say, "Hey, thanks for being patient with me."
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I'm sorry
like
this
that.
shipment's late. Instead, say, "Hey, thanks for bearing with us. It's been really tough to get this to you." Right?
I like
If
that.
you have done something wrong and you are contrite, then you should apologize, especially with your special lady friends out there.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a ring on their finger. Yeah.
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 That's good.
I'm taking
Chet's
notes.
taking
Matt,
notes.
you need to take some notes.
Right here.
Yeah.
He's got it.
yeah,
He's locked
yeah.
in, man.
All this stuff is actually in the book as well.
It is in the book.
Yeah.
It is in
Which
the
book?
Yeah.
Tell
So
us
speaking
about
of
the
the
book.
books, we've got two books that you've written here, Dan.
I got some literature here.
You got Life or Death Listening,
Yeah, we call that in the trade the red book. Yeah,
the red
Yeah.
book, and then you got the green book.
We call that the green book. He's
Yeah.
He's already on it. Look
Yeah.
at this guy.
He's
He's
so
a quick
bright.
study. isn't
He's
he?
very
Yeah,
bright.
That's why
Right.
he's the co-host.
Not
Yeah.
much gets by him.
The 28 Laws of Listening.
Yeah.
So I started reading this one, and it's got some really good info in here. But truth be known, I was trying to read it before you came on the podcast so we could talk about a lot of it. I got 11 laws in, and just the application that you have after each chapter this is not a quick read. It's read a chapter, do the application, do some work, and then move on to the next law. So
if you read it cover to cover, you could finish it in an afternoon. But that's not the way it was designed.
Right.
Yeah, it's designed to basically a page and a half a day because you get homework.
Yeah.
28 laws of listening means 4 weeks of work. That usually means, by the way, you can start building a habit. And listening is a habit. You have a habit of listening right now. And it could either be good or bad.
Yeah.
So how do you go about? So I've known you for a while. I mean, back when you and Troy were working together. But then I started following you on LinkedIn, and even back then you were prolific in your spreading of knowledge.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it? Through LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I think it has to be that. It can't be anything else.
I got a lot of value out of some of the articles that you had written, and so I was wondering, like, did you set out to write a book, or did you just kind of look back at some of the things that you've been teaching, and then you realized, hey, a lot of these articles that I've written, a lot of these things that I've been talking about, all kind of fall into a book, and now I'm just going to package it, put a bow around it?
Man, I wish I'd had that kind of. If I had Chet Sears forethought, man, I could have like 10 books. No, general rule: some dude tells you to do something, be a little suspicious of that. A couple dudes tell you to do something, maybe even more suspicious. Maybe they're working together. About the time the 100th different, very unique and different person in totally different settings, can't be operating in cahoots, tells you to do something. That's probably the Holy Spirit. You should probably go do that thing. So about the 100th person said, "Hey, you should really write a book. I think that'd be amazing. I'd buy that book." I'm like, 100 people buy the book. I'm rich.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book. It's a labor of love. Writing a book's no joke.
And you wrote 2.
I wrote 2. No, funny story. This is where Chet's like, aha. The second book was written in the process of writing the first book.
Okay.
In the editing process, you should be cutting lots of things out that just don't fit the book. And in the process, I was like, I got 28 lessons here. Actually, I had like 30, 32. 4 of them were crap. So 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good number.
It is. It's nice. Yeah. It's divided by 7. So it's 4 weeks. But the one thing is my wife's like, you sure you want to call it the 28 laws of listening? And remember that old philosophy degree I still had. And it's Thomistic philosophy, which nobody cares about. But basically, a law in the school of thought where I come from is not a law like civil law, not like the speed limit law. A law is a truth about the natural world that we should obey.
Yeah, laws
and
of
if you
physics,
don't obey
laws
it,
of
you don't get thrown in jail. Like you jump off a cliff. Like I don't care about the law of gravity. Well, guess what, buddy?
Yeah,
law of gravity
they don't care what you think about it. Here she comes.
Yeah.
So it's a proposal. That book's a proposal. Its proposal is here's 28 things I think are true about listening and people and relationships. And if you follow these laws, then good things happen to you and them. And if you don't, life's hard.
Right. Stupid ought to hurt.
Yeah, it's been said before.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, so 2 books.
And I will say the chapter so far. So I'm up to chapter 10 in the first book.
The red book.
The red book. Yes, the red book.
And
nobody said the title. It is Life or Death Listening. That's the title. Yeah.
And so where I'm at in, like I said, is chapter 11, I believe, and then so far chapter 8, that chapter was more on leadership and defining kind of what an authority figure is and what a leader is, and that was an awesome chapter. I mean, that was really well thought out. I really appreciated that chapter in that book.
Thanks. I come from not a military background, did not serve in the military, but in law enforcement, it's still paramilitary, especially when I started. And I had true leaders I worked for, and what I always appreciated, I could tell now looking back, it's like the people that had authority but didn't have to use it to get work done, they were the best. And I only now realized they were great listeners. Like they knew what was going on in their shop, they knew what was going on their team, and they knew who could do what really well, and it just happened. And the kind of the worst people I've ever worked for have been just top down, do it because I said so, kind of folks. And so now I strive as a husband and father not to lead my family that way. It's hard, man. Yeah. Authority is the easy button, And I've found kind of like the laws. Whenever I follow that rule I made for myself, things go well. And when I'm tired and cranky and I don't,
it doesn't
go good. So
call that pulling rank, right?
Yeah.
And tapping the stripes. Yeah.
And that's the thing that I was going to say about your 28 laws, the way that book is set up. That's a very kind of a military mindset of the way to do things. So the military teaches you go out and they teach you something, and then you go and you do the prac app or the practical application of that. And that's the way that the green book is set up. So
right.
That would be very easy for even dumb Marine like myself to follow. So once I get done with the red book, because I read a little bit slower than everybody else, start on the green book and start doing that one as well. Because I believe, I think you're absolutely right on the listening and being an active listener, and it's so lost in this culture where everything is so focused on social media. It's all focused on you, and it's about you.
Oh yeah.
And you even said in the red book that it's not about you. And
that's right.
And I think that more people need to utilize that in today's age.
Yeah, my keynotes, I strive to always have that included up in front. One of the foundational things for good listening is just a total embrace of this truth that it can't be about us.
Yeah. Well, if it is, then you don't, the active part, the questions that you're going to ask or the answers you don't even care about. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then very quickly people figure that out, that your offer to listen or your offer to be empathetic is not actually true because it's about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then everything falls apart. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's good.
Yeah. And we're all, you kind of think about, hey, we got somebody in here from law enforcement that's a hostage negotiator, been trained by the FBI. And one of the things that I think you've been the most diligent on letting us know is the hardest part of any negotiation is actually what everybody that's listening to us now does every day, dealing with their family and friends. And
irrational people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're the best. They're my favorite.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So one thing is kind of to wrap this back around. So what could be more practical than accepting the fact that it's not about you and then accepting the fact that you really don't learn much when you talk? But you can learn so much when you listen. That's one of the most practical skills. I wish this is like classic stuff, man. If we could go rewrite high school curricula, I'd put listening like first. Mm-hmm. It's the skill that gives you all the other skills, man. Almost everything that that's like really useful and practical and durable. Somebody taught you and they told you, like you listened to them and you watched them and then you could do it, right? And then it's just not a skill that's taught anymore.
Yeah.
It's not modeled very well in the social media age. There's just a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And that was the way that you laid that out in the book and explained that, it's common knowledge, but nobody thinks about it. It's like listening is number one. I mean, because that's how everything else comes into place. And so, I never even thought about that. I was like, oh, that's pretty smart.
So being observant. I'll give you an example of that. And it's not necessarily so much listening to what somebody was saying, but watching what was going on. So, in one of the previous industries I worked for, HVAC, and I got to go just to learn how the whole channel went. You get to go on a sales call, and I was in Phoenix. We went to this gentleman, retired, his house. He and his wife lived there. He was an engineer, and typically when you come up to a retired engineers, there's all kinds of requirements and everything. We were the number 8th quote that he was getting to replace his air conditioner, and the sales guy, I know what everybody wants. They want the cheapest, and I will beat anybody's price. I'm going to win this job. Let me show you how to do it. Because, I'm just trying to learn. Let me tell you, and he goes in there. How many quotes have you got? And he's like, well, you're number 8. And so you've got seven quotes. Would you mind telling me what they are? Because I'll beat it. I'll beat the lowest price that you've been quoted, so we can get this sale and we'll get this thing wrapped up and move on. And then he's like, well, I've got another guy coming tomorrow. So he's getting 9 quotes total. He's like, well, you give me a call tomorrow, and I'm going to give you a price today. And if the guy beats the price, so he's going on and on and on. And I'm learning, right? I'm just supposed to sit and observe and look. Well, I start paying attention. We're sitting at the kitchen table, and there's a little living area right here. And there's a recliner and a TV facing that recliner. And then so that I automatically realized that, number one, he and his wife don't watch TV together. And that's his spot. It's clear. And then the air conditioner's right outside the window next to his recliner. And so I'm just watching things go on. And the guy's like, well, I'll beat this and I'll do this and I could quote this. And we got the cheapest unit here and, all this stuff. And then kind of get to the lull in the conversation. And I said, I got a question to ask for you real quick, if you don't mind. He's like, yeah, sure. I said, when the air conditioner comes on and you're watching TV, do you have to turn the TV up? And his wife from the other room,
oh boy,
says, yes, he does. And it makes me so mad. But the guy came in and we actually at the time, the one of the brands that we sold had the quietest air conditioner on the market, which happened to be one of the most expensive air conditioners on the market. And so the guy that was like, I know everything. I'm not even asking you any questions. Like, I'm just telling you care about price more than anything else. And I'm going to beat the price and I'm going to get this sale. And with one question, hey, do you have to turn the TV up when the air conditioner comes on? Well, because the air conditioners were very old and it's very loud. Absolutely. I said, sir, did you know that we have the quietest air conditioner on the market today? And your experience of when the air conditioner comes on, it's not going to be that loud. It's going to be this many decibels lower. Mm-hmm. Well, then price wasn't an issue to him at all. It was actually comfort. I want to be cool and I want to my wife would be happy.
I want to have peace in my house. Yeah.
So the wife who wasn't even at the kitchen table was the one telling, hey, yeah, you need to spend all the money that we've got, whatever it takes to get the quiet air conditioner out there. And then the guy goes back to the truck. He's like, yeah, we're going to get that sale. I'm like, dude, like you didn't even ask him what he was after. You're like, I'm assuming that this person wants the cheapest thing that's out there, and that's all I'm going to talk about. And didn't even have to sit back and observe, ask questions, and listen, allow the wife to speak up from the other room. And anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. And that so many times we walk into a scenario and we think we know exactly what that person wants, and we're not even going to stop to ask questions, let alone actively listen to what their responses are.
Yep. Sometimes knowledge gets us into trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in sales. I work with a lot of sales folks, and that's when the first way to tell them, look, you got to know your products. You got to know your services. Yeah. But you really need to know people.
Right.
And how they make decisions. Because it's not what you think.
And they're not all the same. Yeah.
We don't make decisions. I mean, and I train police officers, but people, 100% of the decisions we make are emotional.
Yeah.
100%. Because every time you make a decision, your emotional brain's involved. Not every time is your cortex, your wizard brain involved. That's I won't say rare. Some people it's rare.
Some people don't even have wizard brains.
Some people can. The wizard is out, right?
They have wizard beards, but not wizard brains.
Well, okay, it's getting a little personal in here.
If I only had a brain.
So we train people like, look, you need to access their vision, because that guy's vision drives his decisions, and his emotions shape the way he sees the world. So, yeah, that was a great question. Did you know we have the quietest? And I would follow up with, what would it mean to you if you had the quietest air conditioner on the market and you didn't have to turn your TV up to hear it?
Yeah.
And
to upset your wife in the next room. Yeah.
You let him fill in all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's made his decision. He didn't even know it yet, by the way. He's going to go get the 9th quote.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, unless the guy cracks the code like you did, he's going to buy your AC unit.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's awesome.
So I have one more question, because we're about to move on to top 3, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is one question that you wish people would ask you, but they never do?
Wow.
That's deep.
That's what we call a discovery creation question.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really good.
Most people are unprepared to answer it too.
I wish people would ask me, what's the opposite of negotiation?
Ooh, I would have never thought of an opposite.
Yeah,
so do tell.
What is the opposite?
Well, what people think is the opposite can sometimes get them in trouble. But I think the act. Here's my definition of negotiation. It's a dialogue between parties, 2 or more parties, where they can make an agreement where both parties have consent. They have the ability to say no. Because that's the formula for a strong agreement. If I trick you, if I deceive you, if I lever you, if I force you, right? If I threaten you, or if I remove your options, and then you have to say yes.
Not a negotiation.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you can?
Walk away.
Get out from underneath it, right?
Yeah.
And so strong agreement is all about consent. So we emphasize, even in like when we work with sales teams, we don't change the whole sales process, but we identify points in it where they disobey that law, and they try to do like tie down questions or forced choice questions. Or, hey, you want a new AC, right?
Yeah.
Like we're like, take that out. You don't need it. You want a strong agreement, right? Find out what they really want. So the opposite of negotiation is violence. That's how important negotiation is. Because everything I've described on a spectrum, you're heading towards a gun to somebody's head, right? It's a sliding scale. Little white lies. Oh yeah, we got 3 other quotes. Maybe the guy didn't actually get 9 quotes. You ever think about that?
Yeah.
He's just trying to get your lowest number.
Oh, I fully believed it because that guy had nothing better to do.
No, I think he was definitely getting. He's like, I should have got 10.
I'm gonna stick it to these guys.
But so those little habits that some salespeople have, we tell them, hey, little white lies is not on the spectrum of negotiation. You're on the spectrum of violence, right? Eventually, if it gets intense enough, you're trying to make people buy from you. And obviously, I'm also talking socially speaking, like out in society, police world.
Yeah.
The opposite of negotiation is violence. So we should be teaching our kids how to negotiate.
Yeah.
They should be prepared to deal with violence too. Don't get me wrong, because not everybody subscribes to my definition of negotiation.
Yeah.
For instance, we train our students how to deal with aggressive negotiators that are like win, lose, sharks. We train them how to take away their aggression and blunt it with active listening. But we then don't turn around and teach them how to use those tactics to advance their negotiation, because that doesn't fit our definition. So,
Wow.
I like it. So we need to get back to these things in school, teaching kids how to listen, negotiate,
balance a checkbook. What else we got?
Yeah.
how to handle a firearm.
Heck yeah.
And we've covered that before on the podcast.
Taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
To not pay them or do them?
Either way.
To know what they are.
Both.
Either
Yeah.
way.
And how about how to vote?
Yeah.
And how to be on a jury. Like, there's these like really important things for our civil society to like flourish. And
We just get thrown into
I've
these
always,
things.
everybody that's down on being a jury, whenever I got jury duty, I'm like, look, if I'm ever charged with something, I want somebody like you on that jury. So please don't skip out on that. Like, that would be a big deal for me that I got the bottom of the barrel that decided to show up and didn't weasel out of it some way. So please go serve on the jury
Yeah.
and do it effectively and honestly.
I served on one. I thought it was great. It was
Yeah.
fun. We were there a week. Stabbing. Yeah, it's crazy.
You'd be amazed
Yeah, it
how
was
hard
great.
it is to get on a jury when you're a cop.
It's like, he's out.
I'm like, yeah, I'd love to serve. And the defendant's like, no, who is this guy? You supposed to get out of jury duty.
You arrested me, man.
The judge, this is a true story. The judge is like, Mr. Oblinger, why are you here? And I was like, Your Honor, this is my duty as a
I've
citizen.
been summoned.
And he said, he's not wrong. And the defense, you see the defense attorney's like raising his hands like, there's a flag on this play.
Yeah.
Your Honor, he's lying.
That's awesome. Well, Dan, I appreciate you coming in today. Stick around, though.
Yeah, we
I
want
thought I was about to get booted.
No.
I had my food ready to go.
No. We're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to jump into our top three.
But before we take that break, where can we find you? Like LinkedIn?
I'm in studio, Chet.
Yeah. Like, I'm right next to you,
Right
man.
to your left.
Probably the fastest, easiest, and certainly the cheapest is LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm Dan Oblinger on LinkedIn. Connect with me. Funny videos.
Yeah, and we're going to put a link
Timeless
to
wisdom.
We're going to put a link to that and your books.
Oh, there's show notes, of course.
as well in the show notes.
Books.
The books are on Amazon.
Amazon.
If you're in Wichita, America, you can go down to 8th Day Books on Douglas Avenue.
In an actual
okay.
bookstore.
And I'm in an actual bookstore.
Nice.
The smell of books. It's good.
You go see
Support-
Warren and the
local.
boys and girls down there. They are amazing people.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Good deal.
All right, now we're ready to take that break.
All right, let's do it.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Admiral's Pennant Beard Oil, for being awesome and sponsoring this podcast. We also have the owner, Matt Amos, here with us. Matt, you've got a glorious beard. Can you tell us why you started making beard oil?
Oh, that's a long story.
Well,
But,
we've only got
so-
like 20 more seconds, so
So when I retired from the Marine Corps, let me go real fast. When I retired from the Marine Corps, I started growing my beard, and
it didn't look great. It wasn't glorious. It wasn't awesome.
no, it itched and irritated the crap out of me, and so I
Yeah.
began searching for products and found some out there, but they were a little bit too harsh on my skin, made me break out, turn
Probably
red.
because they use synthetics.
Yeah, a lot of synthetics, and then a lot of even if they used essential oils or whatever it was, they just put too much in there, and so created a blend and a brand that is not overpowering and gentle on the skin.
Yes. So you manly men out there that need to treat your beard gently.
Manly men with sensitive skin,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes. You need to look at admiralspennant.com and get some wonderful beard oil so you can have a glorious beard like Matt Amos one day.
And you can get it all at www.admiralspennant.com.
And we are back. Thank you, Admiral's Pennant. Now we're going to jump into top 3 foods that you would like to eat if you were on death row. So if these were your last meals, what would you eat? I think our special guest should go first. Dan, what do you think?
I'm not afraid. I'll do this.
Do it. You
When
can go.
when you say 3 meals on my last day, I'm thinking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So breakfast,
That's fine. Yeah.
biscuits and gravy. The good sawmill with the big chunky sausage too. Don't flake out on that. And then
Yeah.
like big buttermilk biscuits.
I like it.
Yeah. Lunch. I'm going with a hot pastrami sandwich and fries.
Like from where? Where's
hot
your favorite?
mustard. So there's this place in Las Vegas, and it's a chain. I get it, but Capriati's, and they have a Reuben that's made with pastrami instead of corned beef, and with coleslaw instead of sauerkraut. But
I like it better already.
It is phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah.
So that would be the one. You're like, hey, I want this one from that
I want
place.
that sandwich
Yeah.
from Capriati's with fries because I like fries.
Yeah.
And for dinner, my favorite meal, which is pho, the Vietnamese beef stew, bone broth.
Yeah.
Yeah, piled high too. Not like they serve it in the restaurants, like they serve it at the houses. If you go into a Vietnamese people's house, it's piled high with meat. It's got tons of bean sprouts and peppers and
Yeah,
good
for the
stuff.
locals
That's
in
good.
Wichita, where are you going to get that? Like, what's your favorite place to go? Favorite couple places?
I mean, Saigon. I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's
no, I'm
but
with you.
they do it right.
Yeah.
They do it right. Again, it's a little thin on some of the ingredients, but only compared to home cooking.
Right.
Yeah, restaurant style, it's the best.
Sweet.
Yeah, Little Saigon has one of my favorite dishes.
They're fine as well. I'll never
Of
look
all
down my
time.
nose at Little Saigon.
yeah, delicious. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's-
Yeah,
Very good.
breakfast, lunch,
That's a
dinner.
good top 3, man. You came out strong.
Guns a-blazing.
I like it. Matt, what you got on your list?
Man, I didn't come that strong. I'll tell you that much. I went back and forth, but I'm going to say chips and salsa.
Whoa! No. Let him finish. I want to hear this out.
That's
I'm
it.
excited.
Chips and salsa.
No, but not like from New York City salsa.
Yeah, not the
Like-
Totinas.
Tell
Like,
yeah,
us
not-
about the salsa,
like
man.
yeah, dive in.
Just the homemade.
Yeah. I had some of this homemade salsa. Is this the homemade salsa? The one I had at your camp?
No, that's we call that mama salsa. That's my wife's my mother-in-law's recipe.
Yeah.
that she makes. So
There's a
it's
different recipe that you like better?
So that's the canned, but I like the fresh. If I'm going to be on either death row or know when my last meal's coming,
Yeah.
fresh salsa,
Yeah.
chips and salsa, and it can be as hot as it wants because
It don't matter.
I'm not going to feel it the next day.
Yeah. Who cares about heartburn?
That's it.
Yeah.
Who cares about that stomach?
Now,
ulcer?
are you specific on your chips? You need like the thin restaurant style, or you like the hefty, hearty?
Man, I don't like the scoops, so it's not going to be the scoops, but
Yeah.
just a corn, like a yellow corn, round, not triangles, round tortilla chip.
Yeah.
Because the round ones get
Yeah.
that little curve in them
Yeah.
where you can
Ballpark
get
chips.
You can get
Yeah.
that salsa out.
Yeah.
And I went back and forth on this.
Okay.
I think I'm going to have to go with a crawfish boil.
Oh,
whether
boy.
it's on a
This
Traeger,
is a touchy. I don't want any part of this.
Yeah.
or
Gosh.
the traditional method.
Yeah.
But that's probably one of my favorite meals on the planet.
Yeah.
And if I'm going out, I'm going to have a crawfish
So
boil.
here's an
Might be in
important
another
question.
top 3.
Really important question. If you're eating crawfish as your last meal, are you going to ditch the corn and potatoes and just go with the meat?
No,
You're going to have the corn and potatoes.
I'm going to have everything.
He's a traditionalist, Chet.
Yeah. I ditch it. I'm like, I'm not that as big a fan as the fixings in there as I am the crawfish.
See, I love
Last meal, I ditch it.
Yeah.
Crawfish only.
No, it's the whole thing is what makes the meal.
And you're entitled to that.
I know I am.
Yeah.
It's his last meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this was your top 3 last meal, you could do whatever you want.
And I will tell
probably
you in
will.
just a minute.
But no, so when you bite into the corn though, because you get that heat gets on your lips and starts warming you up. Whereas, when you're pulling apart the crawfish and eating the crawfish, you really don't get that all over your entire face.
Unless you suck the heads.
Even then, it's not getting all up on the top of your lip and I like that burn and that flavor.
It's
just
valid.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'll allow it. Yeah.
I love it. And then my last one here is Mexican chicken. And this is
right.
probably the most simple thing that you can cook. And my mom started making it when I was a kid. And it was just a recipe off the back of a Doritos chip bag. And
But it stood the test of time.
oh, it is phenomenal. And I couldn't even, like, right now, my wife makes it for me as well, like for my birthday or whatever it is. And it's the bottom layer is your taco flavored Doritos.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got shredded chicken with
Oh no.
cream of chicken soup in there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you put in your Rotel
good.
tomatoes with the chilies.
Dude, we're going to have some of this.
And then you have a layer of shredded cheese over the top, and then you bake it in the oven. And then it just comes out, and you just cut yourself a little slice, and it's spicy. It's got the flavor. It's an all-in-one meal. It's something that I can't have too often right now, but if I was on death row and I'm going to lose my bowels, it's going to be it's going to be colorful after that happens.
Matt, I have to ask you a question. So you said your wife makes this for you now. Mm-hmm. How long into the relationship before you revealed that she would have to make this for you?
I didn't reveal that she had to make that, but my mom, when we would go over for
Mom helped. This is
like
good.
yeah, if we went over
third party
for,
intermediary, this is smart.
trying to think, because when I was in the Marines, we would come home on leave, and then we'd try to hit all the families, and so you're trying to be like, okay, we're going to spend today here, today over here, today over here, and you don't want to go over here and have ham and then ham and then ham and then ham, and so my mom would make the Mexican chicken, and so somehow my wife got the recipe out of her for that, and now has the ability to make it.
Bliss. Yeah. All right, cool.
That's awesome. I like it.
It's good.
You undersold yourself. That was pretty good. Top 3.
You've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Like I remember, maybe when we were in Montana or something. You were.
Oh yeah. It's because it's super easy.
And I think back then I was like, man, we got to have that. Still hadn't had it yet, Matt.
I don't know why. It's super easy to make.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Chet, you seem disappointed.
Yeah, well, it's not coming through for me.
Chet, what you got on your top 3?
All right, number 3, a 2-meat plate from Barbecue City, which doesn't exist anymore. It's currently called Hot Rods Barbecue in Ruston, Louisiana.
I don't want to be your warden.
And on the
this. They don't exist anymore, but you got to find it.
On the 2 meats, I'd get ribs and sausage. And the beautiful thing about this restaurant was and is, you go and order your meat, like you walk up there, stand up there, and the butcher's who you're talking to, and you're like, "Hey, I want ribs and sausage," and then he'll turn around and get in the meat locker and pull out a slab of ribs, and then he'll cut them right there in front of you, put them on your plate, put the ribs back, and then get the sausage out, slice the sausage for you. Well, if you go to a place a lot of times and you learn who that person is and they know who you are, his name was Marcus, then you end up like there's more sausage that gets tucked under the ribs, and they take care of you. Throw an extra piece of Texas toast through the butter machine, so you get 2 pieces of Texas toast. Well, at this place, then they hand you your plate, and then you go serve yourself your sides. And as a college student, I understood the structural integrity and how much weight of beans and potato salad a styrofoam plate can hold on a tray. And you load that stuff down. And then the sweet tea that's almost comes out,
syrupy.
Yeah. So there's this almost a white tint to it when it comes out because there's so much sugar in it. But that would be number 3. Number 2, this place burned down.
God, you don't want to be on his top 3 list, do you, Matt?
Olive Street Bistro, you remember that?
Yeah.
God, their tortellini. It just the most fantastic thing. But the manager and the owner got in a dispute, and the manager torched the place, like convicted of arson, like burned it to the ground, and they never opened back up. So whatever the best tortellini is, I don't know. That was it. So if I was to be on death row now, I would not say go find the chef from that place, but
that was y'all's like date.
Bring in some samples. Yeah, that was Ashley and I would go there, and she'd get the cannelloni every time that we were there. Yeah. And then number 1, I would get a Sweep the Swamp pizza
from Johnny's Pizza.
And I'd also get a pepperoni party pizza from Johnny's Pizza.
Oh, so good. I had one.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago.
So what's on a Sweep the Swamp? I got to know.
Like, so they had like a pizza plate. If I were to say Sweep the Kitchen pizza, then you'd be like, oh, everything
on it.
Yeah. Well, if you can imagine a pizza place that was created in Louisiana, they're a little bit broader than that. So crawfish tails, andouille sausage, you got all kinds of the Cajun stuff on a pizza. It's fantastic.
I'd probably get behind that. That sounds good,
it's really good.
It is. So
I think that pairs well with a cold beer. Any cold beer will do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with that thing.
Did they put olives on it?
Huh? Not on mine. Especially if I'm on death row.
But does it come from?
They probably have olives on it. I don't know. I would never order it with it. But yeah, that would be at Johnny's.
That's a good
Johnny's
one.
Pizza.
Was that your number one?
Yeah, man, that was my number one.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
I just got lost in the Johnny's
Yeah.
Pizza. I couldn't remember what number we were on.
I love that every one of your meals had a place and a name and a story. That was good.
Oh, no doubt. And the 2-meat plate when I was in college, that was $6.20 after tax, and then the Johnny's Pizza was $5 something.
Yeah, they used to be cheap.
Yeah, they were dirt cheap. I think it was like $4.99 for a large, which it was college. You could split that in half, and so you and a buddy can be eating for like $2 something.
They still in business?
Oh yeah,
Watch out down there, guys. If you're listening and you're at Johnny's Pizza, just be careful, please. Gosh, watch the fire.
Yeah. They're a chain down there. I mean, I think they branched out. All
they're
the
the
way
only
to
one that's still in existence, right?
Oklahoma.
Barbecue City went down because some kind of payroll tax issue, and then Olive Street got burned down. And there's too many Johnnies to lose Johnnies. They're everywhere now.
Yeah. They need to come up to Wichita. That'd be really nice if we could get a Johnny's Pizza right here in Wichita.
Johnny's and a Cane's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I emailed Cane's today.
Again.
Like, guys, it's time to come up here.
Yeah.
They have a file for you.
Yeah, they
do.
And they're not doing franchises right now. They're all company owned. They're in a company owned expansion right now. So I am like, hey, I would open one up here, and they're like, no franchises at the moment. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, number 3 for me. 1 piece of every roll on the menu at Bluefin Sushi. So just 1 piece.
How many rolls are on the menu?
Oh, there's a ton.
Doesn't matter, Chet.
It's
That's a lot. That's a commitment.
Yeah. But
I think
it's death row, bro.
I could order
It's
2
death
pizzas.
row.
I could order 2 pizzas and not be obligated to eat both pizzas. But if you're getting just 1 piece of every roll, you better eat.
Yeah. The executioner is going to think he's stalling. That's what this is.
Yeah. And I would like it with a little bowl of miso soup and some hot sake.
Yeah.
If I'm going out, give me some hot sake.
Sake it to me.
And number 2, a skirt steak fajita with a side margarita from Superior Grill in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah. And you were down there a few weeks ago, about a month ago. And
I just had this same meal.
Yeah.
About a month ago. And if you want to see that experience, you can check out my
Live
YouTube
Local.
channel, Live Local.
His Live Local channel did a Live Local video for a restaurant in Louisiana.
Not local. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I said, asked the server, said, hey, you care if I film in here? It's a local, we go to local restaurants. And he's like, you can't get more local than this place.
Yeah.
So
It's like, I'm way out of local, by the way.
it was awesome.
What's your website? Yeah, www.wichita local.
No, it's Live Local.
Live Local Wichita.
So technically,
ICT.com.
you could shoot anything. You could video anything. It'd be local.
If
I mean, it's local.
It would have been awesome. He was like, well, hey, man, I'll give it to you. It's on the house because, we could really use the patrons coming over here. Yeah, they're not going to come over there.
Hey, we have people in Houston watching the
Live Local
Wichita
stuff?
channel.
All right.
So
Well, maybe they'll come up here
we
on
got
vacation
viewers
just to
from
do a restaurant
all
lap.
around. Yeah. So anyway, if you're in Shreveport, Louisiana, go to Superior Grill. That skirt steak is amazing.
Just about whatever you get there is really good.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
And my number 1 is a crawfish boil, but I'm the cook. I want to be able to cook it.
Oh, okay.
I want them to bring me a pot, get it boiling, and let me season it. Let me cook about 50 pounds. You can electrocute me the day after. I'd be a happy man.
We get you a Yoder smoker or Traeger in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yoder smoker, maybe, but I still wouldn't call it a boil.
Yeah.
It's a boil.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, dude. And you said earlier, man, you're ditching. It's just meat. You're going crawfish only.
Just crawfish. I mean, the other stuff's there just to fill you up anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is good. The mushrooms are great. Potatoes are great.
Gross.
Corn's great.
Mushrooms need to stay out of crawfish.
When the
boil.
mushrooms soak up all that juice.
No.
The shallots are really the best.
Those are.
If you can get some shallots in there, those are so good. But Yeah.
And then
just crawfish boil.
I like the sausage in there too. It's just, I don't know.
And
it's all kind of like one food to me.
I would have to say, like, of all the top 3 lists that we've ever had, like, I'm probably in agreement with the most out of all this. Like, not that I'd argue with all the other stuff, but I'm like, man, yeah, I'm on board with all this.
I would come to your last meal, Troy,
Yeah.
and I would eat all of it.
Yeah.
And you, Matt, and you, Chet.
Yeah, that's where I am. I'm like, yeah, I can't argue with any of this.
I'd sit down with all of you.
Yeah,
It's been a long time since I've had legitimate biscuits and gravy, just due to the stomach issues, because they bother me so much. But man, starting out the day with a nice hearty plate of biscuits and gravy just piled high.
Yeah.
And I feel bad I didn't say so, but they would be from Doodah Diner. They would absolutely be
Oh,
from
yeah.
Doodah
They
Diner.
do. Oh man, they do it right.
they do it well, and I'm not saying these are better, but another, if we're going top 3 biscuits and gravy in Wichita,
Ooh, that could be the next.
homegrown.
Oh, yeah.
Homegrown's got
Yeah.
some really. Their eggs Benedict at homegrown. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Oh, we're going down
So
the path
good.
now.
Well,
Yeah.
I think,
It's all fun and games until Eggs Benedict gets brought
I
up.
think the reason
Bring us
that
back in.
we're
Wrap
going down
thing
this path is because Troy showed up with food and we haven't eaten.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why, like, everything.
Which, Dan, every time we record, Troy shows up with food.
I remember this about Troy. Yeah.
It's because I'm the smart one.
is like the sushi, showing up with the sushi.
Even if it's
good
gas station
sushi.
sushi, he'll do it.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, Chet, I think you're going to leave us with a good word today. What you got?
My good word, boldness. I don't think there's enough of it in this day and age from the right people. And I know we talked on a previous podcast around Independence Day, the founding fathers, and like a lot of people just want to be left alone. But I think that there comes a time where the good people need to stand up and be bold about certain things. And I actually think that's helped me out in my career, and knowing when to speak up. I call it data-backed boldness, having the right data, and then knowing that I'm not just stepping out on a limb to go, pop off. But if you look at you look at Scripture, this is actually a biblical characteristic that is demonstrated. Psalms 27:1. The Lord is my light, my salvation. Who shall I fear? Right. The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? So there's not going to be any fear. I'm going to be bold in this situation. Have I not commanded you in Joshua 1:9? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed. 2 Corinthians 3:12. Since we have such a hope, we are very bold. Proverbs 28:1. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion. And the opposite of bold, hey, what's the opposite of the situation? To be cowardly. And cowardly is not brought up in the Bible that much, but maybe twice the word, if you will, in the translations. But Revelation 21:8, but the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all the liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. That's a pretty bad group of people to be clumped into. So if you think of that whole list and seeing that cowardly is there, that's not reflected upon in a positive light in Scripture. So boldness is a good thing. And when it's time to speak up and you have your ducks in a row and you know what you're talking about, it's not time to be quiet. And I think we see a lot of that going on around the nation right now. There's some bold parents that are standing up to some school boards after finding out some things are going on. And, maybe there's some other things going on in the community that you need to speak up about. And I think it's a noble thing to be bold in those areas. So that's my good word.
I like it. Be strong and courageous. Bold.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Matt, you want to hit that button?
Dan,
Bring us on out.
Yeah, I can. But before we do you have any classes coming up that people could sign up for, or are you scheduling any? Or
Yeah, if you got a company, hit me up on LinkedIn, or we'll put my email in the show notes and just reach out to me. And maybe I can't help you, and if I can't, I'll tell you. But if I can, we can work something out. And then if you're just an individual and you don't think the time is right for your culture, for your organization to do something, but you want to be a pathfinder, I run an open classes with a partner of mine who's another just an excellent dude, very good business negotiator background. And we do a tactical negotiations course. This is like active listening on steroids. And then we do a strategic negotiations coaching program. And all of that's done by Zoom.
Okay, so that's a question I wanted to ask. So if you're listening to this and you're not in our local area, this is still open to you for Dan to come and find you via Zoom.
Mm-hmm. And I have clients all around the world. So that's the beauty of Zoom, right? That's the beauty of the internet. So we'll match you up with a cohort, and you will a lot of role playing. Pack a lunch. It's a lot of fun, but the idea is stress inoculation. We're going to put you in situations you're very uncomfortable. You're experiencing emotions, so you know what to do when you're in that same situation again in the real world.
The more uncomfortable you are, I found in training, the more uncomfortable you are, the more you take away from it, the more 100%. You learn, because you actually practice it as opposed to just listen.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it, man. Dan, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Gentlemen, again, we're blessed.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again for listening, everyone, to Hardheaded. If you would like to leave us a comment, tell us what top threes you want to hear, or shoot us an email to hardheadedpodcast.com. That's it.
Thank you, Admiral Bennett. Beard oil. Thank you, Dan, for being here.
Be sure you check out the books as well.
And links in the show notes for the books, Amazon.com. And
Life or Death Listening.
Yes.
28 laws of listening.
And the laws are not like legal laws. They're like, laws of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like gravity.
Yes. Hey, turn this thing off. Come on, let's go. We're done.
Are we?
We're out.